D-Rich,
What up, man?
what's up with it, man?
Chilling, man.
Good to see you, man. It's been a minute, man, but I'm definitely glad to have you in the building, man. Have you in the spot, man.
Man, it's good to be here, man. I see you doing big things, man. I had to be a part of it.
Yeah, man. Small beginnings, man. But I'm definitely, looking at big things happening, man. I know, this pandemic. I know we kind of transitioned real quick into, work from home life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? For the people that don't know you, who are you, man?
Man, I'm just a dude from Columbia, South Carolina, man. Hopkins is where I grew up, and then left to go to Columbia. But I'm just a guy that's passionate about life and people.
Yeah.
Everybody has their different struggles, and I have mine. And a lot of times, your purposes are kind of attached to your struggles.
Yeah.
Because you're learning how to get over that struggle within that purpose, and then what do? You go back and you share it. So I'm just a guy who's learned how to get past a lot of struggles in my life, and I attract people with similar struggles in my coaching business, and I just help them get over it through techniques that I learned myself to help me heal along the way.
Yeah, man, that's dope. And you got this business going, man. Tell me about your restaurant, man.
Dirty V, man. Yeah, man. Woo. So to give you the backstory, man, I actually started life coaching, man. I want to maybe say about 12, 13, maybe a little bit longer years ago, right?
Yeah, I know that about you. Yeah, I do know that too. Yeah.
So I was really just be wanting to help people out with just the basics, right? Give a basic foundation because we miss a lot of that in school or just dealing with our emotions. So I was focusing on like weight loss, financial literacy, relationships, and then helping people reach their goals, whether it be a personal goal or starting their own business, right?
Right.
So from out of that, I had a lot of weight loss clients, man. I had them all over, man. Like I had clients in Texas, California, I had clients in New York, Italy, Africa, all hitting me up on social media.
Right.
And word got to the job where I was at, so everybody was like, hey, can you help me? So what we did was, you know how you have potlucks at work?
Yeah.
And this is how I got approved at work. It was a functional weekly potluck. And everybody would pool their money together, and I would take the supplies, and I would do meal plans to kind of help us all, get healthy, right?
Yeah.
So that went well for a while, and then I stopped it, because I was, in management, busy all the time, right? And then the pandemic hit, and we're home, and so I'm bored. When I get bored, I try to get creative, right?
Right.
So I just started this thing online called Late Night Vegan. You know what I'm saying? I get bored at night, late at night, like now I want something to eat. I know I can't eat this unhealthy stuff and pick up a lot of weight, even though I did pick up some weight during the pandemic.
Who didn't, man?
You know what I mean? But I was posting pictures, on my Facebook page, man.
Right.
And somebody just hit me up and, on one of the feeds and was like, yo, will you cook for me? And before you know it, somebody else came. And I was like, let me take all my random pictures of food,
Right.
some of the specialties I do, and let me put it out there and let me see what they say.
Right.
And at the same time, I had just worked with, this vegan meat, or you would say, or vegan plant-based brand. And I added some extra special seasoning in that mug, showing my chef skills, right?
Right.
And, it was good. It was busting. It's like, yo, this vegan burger is the first one that really tastes just like a burger. So my lady was like, you should put it out. You should do it. And so end of June, beginning of July, I was just like, yo, let's just run a test pilot. And I posted, hey, you can do pre-orders. I was catering for a pop-up, and the turnout was huge.
Yeah, somebody just recently shared with me that you need to get a certain license to do that. Is that did you go through that process, or is that something that you had to do?
It is something definitely I had to do. I wanted to make sure I had all my ducks in a row. You know what I mean? Plus, I used to work in the food industry when I was, a little younger and growing up. In my early 20s, I was a hiring manager for a big fast food chain. So I kind of knew like the dynamics of how to run a restaurant, to make sure you got a clean kitchen and all other stuff, and make sure you had the proper licenses in place. And from those pop-ups, I got invited to North Carolina, and there's this thing called Vegan Vibe Festival.
Okay.
So I'm in Concord, North Carolina, about 20 minutes out of Charlotte, and we sell out, right? And you know, the way I met the guy was through somebody else who was eating my food that was driving from Charlotte to Columbia to eat with me on the weekends. So went up there this second weekend, maybe this a fluke, right? You know, we sell out again. And so we looking like, yo, we got something.
Right.
So within 2 to 3 months, man, I had generated enough revenue to be able to make a down payment for the food trailer. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I was like, let's do it. The movement is here. You know, when I became a vegan years ago, I actually got trained to be a raw food chef, and nobody was really checking for it then, unless you was really, really on that health tip.
On that health tip, yeah.
Or you know what I'm saying, you need to kind of heal your body type of thing, right?
Yeah.
But this time it was different, you know? And the other thing was different was like the love I was getting on social media. It was different from, you know how when you first start a company?
Yeah.
And you be like, oh, my friends won't support me. You gotta go to the strangers. And I knew all about that because in life coaching, I had to talk to a lot of strangers. I had more strangers at client than, you know, anybody that was close to me, because people that was close to you want your advice for free. But this time it was different. You know what I mean? You know, my mom was rooting me on, my lady was rooting me on, my family from Hopkins, they not even vegans, man. They was like, people were popping up, you know what I'm saying, wanting to see me win. And then when I finally purchased the food trailer and just took a picture of it, had over like 1,000 likes and 500 shares. And I'm like, yo, I'm in Columbia, South Carolina. That's, you know, the Columbia, it's big numbers online.
It's big numbers online, yeah.
You know, and I went to this big metropolitan in Charlotte, and they love the food. So I'm like, yo, I got something, man.
Yeah. Did you have to like dig in to find out what recipes work, or like did you have to research? Because like, you know, you can't just go to the, you know, Publix and be like, what you got vegan? You know what I'm saying? Like, what you?
I mean, you can, but it's not gonna taste like my food.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. How did you develop that? Like your own, you know?
So the backstory was that is, man, like I told you I became a raw food chef. Shout out to Rotopian Bliss, you know that Chef Sa, and she really put me up on game. And one of the things she used to say was to me when I was like learning, it's like when you eat chicken, what do? You season it.
You season it.
You know, when you eat a burger, what do? You season it. She's like, so really the taste is in the season. And the magic with vegan is you can combine certain tastes together to make it taste like chicken or to make it taste like beef. And so I already had those skill sets combined with being a country boy growing up in Hopkins, South Carolina, you know, going in the kitchen with my grandma and my grandfather when I was young. You know what I mean? Getting your hand popped for sticking your finger and stuff, you know, while they cooking. You know how that go, right? So I took some of those country boy elements with seasoning, some of the things I learned from when I was trained to become a raw food chef. Bang, you got a dirty V, you know?
Right. So it really is personalized because of your experience. And now you kind of got a brand with your taste.
Yeah.
that's really carrying what's going on. That's dope, man. When you said you made a down payment on the truck. Now I know people that have these ideas like, yo, we want to do a breakfast food truck.
Right.
For somebody that's watching this, where would somebody like need to go, or like what's step one to get the truck? You know what I'm saying?
The first thing I did, man, when I had interest in getting a food trailer, I was talking to other guys who had food trailers. Even if I don't eat their food, I was patronizing, and they would give me information. And along the way, I met this one guy, and he said he'll mentor me for a little while, and for the first, you know, few months, you know, I mean, I could pick up the phone, call him now if I needed to, but he really just kind of put me up on game. It's like, there's two options. One, you can build it from scratch, right? Trailer's cheaper, you know what I'm saying? You know, you may be able to find you a good trailer for about 5,000-6,000, but then you got to go to certain, you know, restaurant stores or online, purchase your equipment. You got to make sure you got to get the right gas line. I don't know. I'm not good with my hands like building. That's just not me.
Right.
So regardless, I had to pay somebody to fix it.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, then the average trailer that was used was going for like 20,000. And I only had like 18, 19,000 at the time. So I was just short, you know?
Yeah.
And there's one trailer I was gonna purchase. The guy was gonna work it out, it was like 25. If somebody had to came and purchase it, he was gonna take my 18 and let me pay off the rest. But it sold. So I was like, man, so then I was searching online, man, just looking at YouTube videos, man. Do you know Facebook stuff popping in your feed?
Yeah.
And I came across this company called One Fat Frog. And they had a deal to where you could pay, I want to say 50% or 40% up front, then the next 10%, and then whatever's left.
So like, I'm pretty sure it's a process that you got to go through, but then I'm also sure it's levels to trucks. Like,
it is,
you know, you got your baby truck or your little mini hitch.
Yes.
Then you probably got, and this is all imagination and speculation, but you know.
No, that's right, man. So in the food truck industry, you can get the trucks that you drive, and they come in all different types of sizes.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, or you can get like a trailer. So I was coached to getting a trailer because it was like, if you get a truck and let's say it break down, you can't move. You get a trailer and your truck that you put in it with, let's say that break down, you may be able to go rent a truck, you know what I'm saying, to continue to pull the trailer out, make business while you, so it allows you to be on the road regardless. You know what I mean? So.
And I know it's important for you to love what you're doing so that you can have the passion and the drive to continue to, you know, to
That's
do
right.
it. Just talk about your passion for, I guess, health and the why behind you even doing this, man.
So I'm a country boy, man. I tell people all the time, I don't hate people for eating meat, not eating meat. That's not my MO, right? But for me, when I started my journey, I was like 230 pounds, and I was showing signs of pre-diabetic, and I was having back pain. And I went to the doctor, and I kept getting medicine, and I was like, it just hit me, you know, like maybe God, universe, whatever we want to call it, however you want to, you know, your belief. But so maybe if I lose this weight, some of this pain will go away. You know what I mean? And my sciatic nerve was pinched at the time, so it was hurt. It was painful to walk. So nobody knew I was going through this, and I mean, the herbalist. This herbalist changed my life, man.
Yeah.
And long story short, he introduced me to the chef, and I ended up changing my diet from a challenge. He was like, what he used to say is it takes 90 days to cleanse your blood, like a riddle. And he was like, you know, look up how long it takes to regenerate, you know, your liver. And he would say little things like that. And he was like, you know, maybe you should try to go meatless for 90 days. And I did. First week, 2 weeks, I was eating a lot of carbs, like a lot of people who jump into it do, right? But then I got schooled, you need to get your vegetables in.
Yeah.
And that kind of just set off the journey, man. And then once I learned how to make the food, it became easy from that point.
Right.
Yeah.
So your health was the driving force because you applied it to yourself first.
Yeah. My passion is people.
Yeah.
So if I had like a hierarchy, right?
Yeah.
It's always been like helping people. So really my first passion is more like motivational speaking and life coaching.
Yeah.
And then the food part was like, I always cooked when I was young for me and my brothers and stuff, you know, so that just came along with it. I didn't even know I had a passion for cooking until I started really getting out there doing it. So it's like something that was untapped into. To believe it or not, man, honestly, at first, you know, this comes from the days working in a restaurant. I don't even like serving adults. They say kids are picky eaters. Nah, adults more pickier than kids.
Yeah. I told my man the other day, I said, you know, when you're dealing with adults, you gotta see them as the 5-year-old kids that they were, so that you won't respond improperly, right? When people offend you or people, you know, carry on, I just know like they was once a child, right? You know, and sometimes that kid pops out.
Right.
It rubs you the wrong way, man.
So like, I wasn't even a fan of like vegan cheese, right? And
Yeah.
so my burger, I was like, man, you need no cheese for my burger. So I'm slinging it with no cheese. But then I started getting this request for vegan cheese. And I was like, yo, what are you talking about, man? But of course, I accommodated, man. So
Yo, people, I think the conversation that needs to be had is people understanding what it means to be vegan versus being the other versions of the things that they think is vegan.
Understood.
Right? Give me that real quick. Just
All
for the
right.
people that don't know, need to be educated.
So, I mean, over the years, you heard vegetarian, then you heard vegan, now you hearing plant-based, right? It's levels to it.
It's levels, yeah.
You know, so, but I tell people the V is for vegetables. That's what the core base in it all. The core base is plants. So, yeah, some people who are vegan who are more about save the animals. And that's cool, you know, because the animals have their place.
Right.
And you got some people who are vegan for like the health tip. So what you see now when people say plant-based, those are people who really into like your kale, collard greens, cabbage. You know what I mean? They really going into the vegetables hardcore. You see some people who more like on vegan, they eat the vegetables, but they still want, you know, a burger, chicken sandwich. So they may go to the grocery store, pick up a processed brand. You know, but just like any processed food, you don't want to overindulge. You know what I mean? But when I came up with Dirty V, I was like, I know people who like raw, but majority of the people don't, and I gotta be realistic. I'm in South Carolina. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, Dirty V, man, it's in the name. I didn't want to promote it like, oh, this is clean, vegan. No, this is fast food.
That's what I needed. I was gonna ask you that. What's the correlation with the dirty and the V, right? Because I want to get that.
So you know the best ideas actually come from laughing and joking, right?
Right.
So me and my lady are laughing and joking in the house, and we looking at different people vegan names, and there was a restaurant called Clean Eats, and they was like promoting, you know, meal plans. I said, babe, I'm not doing no meal plans. It's not doing it. I'm out of that game, right? I said maybe I might get back in it, but so I'm gonna do opposite. I'm gonna say dirty. I was like, well, can I say dirty? And then she was like, well, that's slutty vegan. I was like, yo, there is slutty vegan. And you walk in there, they be like, hi, slut. You know, I be like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, or if you're a newbie, they be like, we got a virgin in the house. So I was like, well, I ate there and they doing it. And, you know, shout out to Pinky, man. She's like the pinnacle in the Southeast. Like a lot of us trying to reach that level.
Yeah. And
I was like, I wouldn't mind franchising it, right? So why not dirty? And then we're not gonna say vegan. We're gonna just say V, you know? Which makes it flexible. So if I want to serve vegetarians, I can serve vegetarian. I want to serve vegan, I can serve vegan.
Yeah. I think it's like I said. I think it's critical to even just explain it because some people don't get the difference, you know, and the why behind the what with that. You know
so we came up with a slogan that same night, right? So the slogan is everybody deserves a cheat day, right? And that slogan just simply means I'm in the middle, right? So if you're a meat eater and you came and ate it from Dirty V, you're cheating on your diet. You know, as a one person meatless Mondays.
To be very clear.
Yes, you're cheating. And I get it, right? You're a cheater. And I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But then you have like your hardcore vegans who eating the vegetables, but then they want to have a burger or a fast food moment because there's no fast food joints for them to pull up to.
Yeah.
So when they come eat with me, they're cheating too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it allows me to be right in the middle, like a crossover, you know? And a lot of people, when they first start off, the food I sell is what they start off with, and then they progressively, as their palate change, you know, get more into, you know, the vegetables. Like when I first started, man, I ain't eat broccoli. I eat mushrooms. Now I love broccoli and mushrooms, man. I love it. You know what I mean? So the palate started changing with your taste buds, and sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit. Mm-hmm. I know that when people hear you talk about this, just me sitting here listening to you now, I'm comparing, man, all this money I done gave to McDonald's and Wendy's late night, or just in the middle of the day on my lunch break. How do you compare yourself to these fast food joints?
You know, I tell people all the time I'm a small business, so you know I got small business pricing, right?
Yeah.
But as I grow my brand and grow the level of food I'm able to purchase, I'll be able to lower the prices to kind of match it. But naturally, vegan food is expensive.
Okay.
You know, when you go to the grocery store and buy it for yourself, it's a little bit more on the expensive side compared to like you can go to the grocery store, get a pound of beef for what, $2, $3, $4.
Right, right.
You go to get 2 vegan patties, man, you paying $8, $9, $10. You know what I'm saying? Depending on the brands that you get and where you purchase it from.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, but the way I look at it is there's space for me.
Right.
You know, because there's not a lot of options out there in the Southeast, especially, you know, in this Columbia, South Carolina market. You know what I mean? You only got a few vegan spaces that are here that sell stuff like that.
Right.
And then the other thing is that a lot of them are in the daytime.
That's where I was going to segue, because if you look around and I go to McDonald's and I go to Wendy's and the line is outrageous after 6 o'clock.
That's right.
Right? Something crazy. And I know the pandemic has something to do with that. But then at the same time, the sign says we're hiring.
Right.
Right? And so I'm looking at your business and I'm like, this is a job. Right?
Yes.
That you know what I'm saying? Like, what are some like did you think about expanding the business, or like are you looking at employment opportunities for people that might be looking for opportunity?
Yeah, man. So right now I got a staff of 3 employees.
Yeah.
You know, as we grow our brand, I'm gonna grow the staff.
Yeah.
You know, and right now my staff is like more like families. My girlfriend's son, there's my son, and then there's my stepfather. And then sometimes she'll get on the trailer with us. But when I first started it, I already had the mindset of I'm gonna franchise this.
Yeah.
Whether that be having it a virtual franchise where people can reach out to me, we set up some type of franchise contract, they take my menu and put it into a ghost kitchen, or whether or not if I'm in a position where I can get another food trailer or eventually get, you know, a store.
Right.
You know, like I got a couple of stores that's on my eye right now that's kind of empty or whatever, you know what I mean? So
storefront. So that's where you headed now, is just going towards either another truck, a storefront, or just expanding virtually, whatever opportunity.
I want to be able to get all 3 in my repertoire, diversify my portfolio, you know, because there's going to be some states I'm not going to be able to reach. So the virtual kitchen would be the best option to franchise.
Right, and then you really, the information is what you're really trading, and it's the value that these people
Plus,
will
it's
get.
already a brand name that they don't have to.
Right. You stand by it. You guarantee it. It's like blue magic.
You know. Then the other thing is, you know, it comes along like the seasons I put in my recipe, because it's the seasons that put me on board.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not afraid to tell people like these are some of the brands I purchased online. Like I've had people call me, you know, how do I start a trailer, or how do I get my menu up, whether it be people who want to be vegan or people not. I got a lot of people that reach out, but I give back because somebody gave to me. And what sets me apart is my seasoning. That's the game.
That's the game.
Yeah. So, you know, you guys should be on the lookout. Probably like got a fry season coming. I probably want to stock on the shelf, and I got a burger season coming, you know. So
yeah, that makes a difference. I can see how you implement the life coaching into the business. You know what I'm saying? But talk to me about the life coaching. You said you stopped doing it, or you still doing it?
So I did stop for a while, right? And then I had some young entrepreneurs that was reaching out to me and said, hey, you know what? I need help starting my business. Some people want to start a coaching business. I had some people that want to start like, you know, personal trainer businesses.
Right.
So the people who I work with now are more like private clients.
Yeah.
It's not like open and free for all.
For all, yeah.
And I'm gonna pause when I say open for free because I got something I'm working on behind the scenes. But those individuals who really value a coach, and that coach being able to help them take them to the next level. And it's like having a basketball coach. Michael Jordan still had Phil Jackson, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So people who reach out to me, need an example from myself. This is just me, right?
Right.
Without putting anybody else's business out there. So if you were to come to me with an idea, I can help you with structuring your business. I can help you getting it started. I can help you get ideas. We can look at like, you know, what niche you want to, you know, go marketing ideas. It just comes to me, boom, 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 boom.
Right.
So I tell a story. My girlfriend one time, you know, I know vaccination's probably sensitive, but she didn't want to get her son vaccinated for high school for some shots. And I was like, yo, yeah, that's easy. You go to get the religious exemption online for South Carolina, right? Fast forward few months later, it comes to me, right? My son's in college. He has to get a vaccinated shot, and he can't go to class the next day unless he has this shot, right?
Wow.
So I'm like, yo, what am I gonna do? I'm thinking like, man, we need to schedule a doctor's appointment, and my girlfriend's just looking at me with her face puzzled. It's like, what's going on? Right. You know the answer to this, right?
Yeah.
And she reminded me of what I told her without thinking, like, hey, this is the answer. So it was a religious exemption, and I used it for him when he was in college, but that's an emotional blockage for me. Does that make sense?
Okay. That was an emotional blockage for you because it was your son.
Yes.
I'm following you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So sometimes people have dreams and they want to reach those dreams, but it's some type of emotional pattern from their past that's blocking them. And they need somebody who's not emotionally connected to the scenario, who can help pull it out of them and then push them along the way just by helping them form new habits. Because when we look at like the process of creation, right? Process you create anything, it comes in imagination. So through your thought, and then after you think about it, we do what? You visually see it in your mind.
Right.
And then after you see it, you start speaking on it. You start telling people about it, or you write it down on paper, like I got this dope idea, right? And then all of a sudden the feeling comes. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then from the feeling, next is the willpower. And do you have the willpower to put into new habits? So I call it think it, see it, speak it, feel it, will it, do it. Somebody gets blocked in one of those steps. And what I'm good at.
Wait a minute. wait. You got to say that again. Think it, see it.
Yeah.
Speak it, do it. So
it really aligns with the glands inside your body. Oh man, you about to make me go in.
Come on, we got to go there. We got to go right now.
So I'm going to start off with a saying, mind over matter.
Right.
Right?
Right.
All comes from the mind.
Yeah.
All right? So if all comes from the mind, there's only two places you can pull from when it comes from the mind. The past or your imagination. That makes sense?
That makes sense.
All right. So when you pull the thought down, the thought is coming down. So that's the think it.
Right.
Then you see it.
Right.
Then you speak it. Then you feel it. Then you will it. So will it. When they go to the gym, tell you what, work on your core because you're working on your willpower. Right? So then once you work on your willpower, you start doing it. And if you do it over and over and over again, it's what? Create it. Compound interest. So I know based on, this is another little tidbit, comes from life coaching, right? You got this thing called body types. And wherever the weight is located in the body, it lets me know where the emotional blockage is at.
Okay.
So if I got a client sit down, hey David, I'm working on this, I'm hearing ideas, but at the same time, I'm listening for voice patterns, the story patterns, and I'm looking at where the weight is located in the body so I can identify the emotional blockage, so that way I can help the client move from point A to point B a little bit faster. So you got the logistics, but you also got the emotional side, and most people skip the emotional side when it comes to it.
Okay, so I'm a client, I'm sitting down.
Yeah.
You seeing the patterns. I got weight around my waist.
Okay.
What's the emotional blockage there?
So that would be dealing with willpower, right? And so what I want you to start doing is start believing that you can. Well, how do you help a person with their self-confidence? Let's take it back to riding a bike. When you get on the bike, you know you don't know how to ride it, and you know you're going to fall, right?
Right.
What gets you back on the bike?
Your willpower.
Your willpower, your desire to succeed. So what I continue to let them know is no matter how many times you fall and the world may be laughing at you, I'm still here with you right away because I expected you to fall. The only difference is I'm here to pick you up, just like if somebody was there helping me ride the bike to pick you up. And so then what we start looking at is like, okay, we had the patterns of failure, but then all of a sudden I may fail, but you'll notice the patterns of failure start showing larger gaps as your confidence grows and your experience grows. And all of a sudden now Just like anything in life, the more you do it, the better you get better at it.
That's a fact.
Yes.
So,
So life coaching, it was called First 21 Days, centered around habits, and my slogan was changing habits, changing lives. So I didn't really give them all the science behind what I'm telling you. It comes across more like a logical conversation. They don't know that this is what I'm doing on my end. See where the blockage at, and how can I help you get past this blockage?
right? Do you think that it just wasn't good for the business model to go into the science behind what it is that you were having people apply, because everybody won't get it, so it's not good for business? Or you think it's just, tell me why you wouldn't give them the science, because the science would motivate me as a client.
It depends on who the client is.
Okay.
You know, so you have this thing, you meet with people where they're at, so adapting is really huge. You know, some people want the science behind it, you know what I mean?
Right.
I got a client right now, man, he about to, you know, he's doing this thing, you know, helping people, you know, with exercising and building muscles and stuff like that. We just went through this regimen of identifying personality types. And then the second thing we talked about is identifying love languages. Then we went through identifying stress triggers. And then we went through identifying body types. So why is all this important? Because if a person comes to him, he sees a body type automatically. He should know this person's favorite foods is this. Their nutritional deficiencies is here because they're eating too much of this, and this is what needs to be replaced. This person getting sleep at night versus person is not. Person getting sleep at night, they need to be doing cardio and calisthenics because you can lose weight while you're sleeping. So you want them to do cardio because every minute after 30th minute, they can put them in weight loss zone, right? So these are some nuances, but then at the same time, if they come with I can't, he can hear how they're saying I can't as a stress trigger, because multiple people express I can't in different ways, whether you're introvert or extrovert. So you begin to identify like, okay, this person I can and I can't language is this. Here's what I need to do to motivate them to get them past I can't to I can.
Do you find it different for men versus women, or do you have to apply a different principle when you have a male client or a female client? Do you find that? Or is it pretty much the same for everybody?
You know what I mean? So what you kind of realize is there's two motivators in life. Do you know them?
Nah, talk to me, man. I know nothing.
Pain and pleasure.
Yeah.
You know? So my son just came to sit down, was talking about his life, what he wanted to do. And he's like, Pops, man, I recognize that growing up, my ex, you know, she was like really on the boys, like do this, do this, do this, do this.
Right.
And he was like, I didn't want to hear her fuss, so I made sure it was done. That's the trigger.
Okay.
So what's his motivator? Pain. Because I can come with a pleasure and dinkle a trinket in front of him. It's like, man, whatever, I get that whenever I'm ready, right?
Yeah.
But to not hear you fuss will motivate him to get to it and do his daily to-do list faster. And I realized when I was growing up, I was the same way with my mother.
Right.
So you started identifying with this person, they need me to cuss them out.
That's just what they need.
It's just what they need. They may take me forward.
Right.
You know, but I identify this is what they need, and then later on, I start helping them reverse the trigger from pain to pleasure.
Right. Is it pain? Is it pleasure? What's the trigger?
Right. So another thing, like a lot of people would say, well, you're talking about the science, all this stuff sounds difficult, right? Really, it's not. In the universe, you have an infinite number of possibilities, but everything's based off of duality and twos. Everything. There's not nothing in this world that doesn't. Everything has a masculine and feminine principle.
Right. I mean, you see that in nature. You see that in animals. You see that in plants. You see that in science. Yeah, you see that. But I don't think people really understand how that applies to everything.
It applies to everything. So with your brain, you have what?
Left hemisphere, right hemisphere.
Come on now.
Right. Yeah.
So one is more logical, one is more imagination and relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people are more logic-based, task-driven. Some people more relationship-based, right? So when you identify that, those two now break down into two. So one of the things I like to use is the DISC model for those who introduction, but if you come to my life coaching, I call it love. You know, you got lovers, operators, your validators, and educators. and 2 of them are masculine, 2 of them are feminine. So once again, that 2, I found out if it's masculine, feminine. Now that breaks down into 2 because 2 feminine, 2 masculine. And which one do you set at? And once I know that, now I know this person's love language is most likely this. This person's stress triggers are most likely this. You understand what I'm saying? Like everybody think it's a secret, and they think that really you holding it all in. But if it's mind over matter, is it really a secret? The first matter is your body, and you got a mind. So your mind over matter, so that means your mind is controlling the look of your body, which is also controlling your hormones. Your hormones are connected to what? Your emotions. So once you learn how to follow the patterns of connections, you realize that everything works this way. Now I just gotta figure out what your why is and get you to convert over from why to how.
So the client comes in and they've got all this padding on them. Their whole body is just big, right?
Okay.
What's the trigger there? What is it, right? When you see somebody just heavy.
It could be anything, man. And sometimes it's not heavy. Sometimes it could be the opposite. Sometimes it can be, underweight. But, like I said, it's always 2, right?
Yeah.
But like it depends on where the weight is located, So like you have your 4 body types. So one is called a thyroid type, right? These people start skinny and gain weight all over. In the thyroid, the lessons is pleasure versus pain, ironically. But people who typically have those issues.
Wait a minute, they start out skinny.
And then they gain weight.
When they were younger, they were skinny, you mean?
Yeah.
And then they get older and all over, they just have.
It's all over, right?
Yeah.
When I mean all over, to my arms, legs, stomach, even proportion was all over. But emotionally, those people are people pleasers, and they hate confrontation. So what do I need to get them to know how to do? Learn how to say no. Learn how to put themselves first. Make sense?
That makes sense, man.
You know what I mean?
I'm thinking about some people right now, like
And then so you got this thing called a liver body type. There's the guys with the pot belly. That was the willpower you was talking about, right?
Right.
And then you got what they call adrenal body type. It's the adrenal glands, but they lose weight in their legs and their arms, and everything shifted to the middle, and then they get a little hump, the back of their neck, right? So I know that they have their set of issues, which is typically dealing with stress or anxiety.
And you keep seeing it over and over and over again, and then the science already proves it, and it's like, now I got to get you to sit down and the value that you get and that the people get from these conversations. As a life coach, people say that they're life coaches or they're health fitness coaches. Right. What is the business plan? Like, I'm paying you for coaching, right? But how am I paying you for that? Is it by an hour? Is it by a month?
It can be. You can do different structures. So like if somebody was starting a life coaching business, right, they can do free consultations to kind of get their game up, but then you can start charging for consultations. You can have an hourly package. You can have a monthly package. You can have a 3-month package. You can even do digital courses online because some people are self-learners. You know what I mean? So it opens the bag up in different ways. And then there's different avenues of life coaching. Like there's just the financial side with business.
Right.
There is the, weight loss side like we just talked about. There's a relationship side. They say, well, relationships, people get marriage counseling all the time.
Right.
Look at the divorce rate. And relationships, most people don't know, serves as what they call mirrors, right?
Yeah. So
kind of give you who a person is on the outside, right? Let's say a man, who I am on the outside, my lady may be there on the inside. And who she is on the outside may be who I am on the inside. So we're triggering each other the whole time through the relationship. And we're creating bonds. So sometimes there's love bonds, sometimes there's trauma bonds. So some people in relationships, they think it's love, really is they bonded through trauma.
And that trauma doesn't even have to be trauma that you caused each other.
Right.
It's just trauma that you came into the relationship with.
That's right. Like a lot of people have issues from, like, let's say they passed in their childhood. So you hear a lot of times like fathers home or bad relationships with their moms. So let's just, since we guys, talk about some guys.
Right.
How's the relationship with your mom? How's the relationship with your dad? I don't dig too much in the past, but I will.
Right.
But if I notice that this guy is dating a certain type of woman with certain characteristics over and over and over again, I begin to analyze the characteristics of his mother,
Be it looks or personality.
be it looks or personality.
Right.
And it's the principles that I'm looking for. Because some people are like, well, my mom don't act like this. Nah. Let me show you.
Where your mom's at.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so what you realize is that that person really needs to have an authentic, genuine sit-down conversation with their parents. And if they're not able to do that, one thing I may have them do is write an open letter to themselves and burn it.
Yeah.
There's a real thing in forgive and forget, right? You got to forgive to forget. And if you look at the ending of both words, you got to give to get, right?
Yeah.
So in order to get healing, you got to give it to receive it. You got to give it to get it.
That's good, man. Yeah, man. That's dope. You've been working in a corporate environment for as long as I've known you. I know that's probably played a big part in what you've learned how to apply to your businesses as well. Talk about the value that you've got and how you transitioned it, man. What were some of the things you learned that you applied to what you do outside of the corporate
So
world?
in fast food, man, learning how to not only deal with the food, but how to handle customers. You know what I mean? Customer service is like top notch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you got a good brand and you got good food, you got dope customer service, word of mouth is gonna take care of things. In the corporate world, from the last job that me and you had,
Yeah.
when we still probably currently employed, but how to deal with people on a whole nother level and deal with customers, like taking up customer service standards. And you start learning that every conversation is based in a pattern of who, what, why, and how.
Yeah.
So what I learned how to do is communicating with people in that fashion. Who am I communicating with? What are we talking about? Why are we talking about it? And then how do we transition to the how? So food, that's dealing with the how, is me giving over a good product, right? Life coaching is just me giving them, some habits to install to be able to help them reach their goals.
Yeah, I was talking to a partner of mine about an interview that he saw with Brother Polite, and Polite was talking about gut health.
Right.
And he was saying that a lot of your emotion is connected to the food that you eat.
That'd be fact.
And he went into this real deep science about it. You know what I'm saying? And I was just like, man, he sound like D Rich right now, right? Right, like the way he was breaking it down. And like, for example, he was like people who deal with anxiety, they like to have crunchy things.
That's right.
There's got to be a crunch going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you got that type of information out there, are you just aligning with it and just taking it in because it's game that's coming from somewhere else that you've heard before? Like, how do you determine what's accurate? You know what I'm saying? When you're dealing with information like that.
The spirit of the law. I'm gonna say it again, the spirit of the law. So you have these set of laws called universal laws. Everybody kind of follow them some way, somehow, and you see them in a lot of spiritual texts. But when I say the spirit of the law is experience, you know what I mean? When you think about sports, you hear let's say basketball. A rookie comes into the game, they're playing fast, right, the whole entire game.
Yeah.
But as they gain experience, they learn to pick their spots. Their court vision changes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You'll be able to see things that you couldn't see before. Does that make sense?
Right.
Only thing that can give you that is experience, right? So for me to be able to see the natural connections was me actually going through the process.
And doing the research and doing the work.
And doing it myself. Anytime you think of a thing, feel a thing, and do a thing consistently, you become it.
Yeah.
I don't know the timetable, but that's just natural law. So for like me, my thoughts became so much clearer. It's like I could hear the Most High talking to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? My hearing became like sonic, boom. Like I could actually sit down in peace and quiet in my home and hear the next door neighbors talking. You know what I'm saying? But
just with the change in your diet.
Just with the change, man. You know what I mean? Like everything's really connected to that. Well, really, more importantly, everything's connected to the breath. You know? So to be in the now, as they would call it, you're gonna breathe 3 seconds, 3 to 4 seconds exhale, 3 to 4 seconds inhale.
Yeah.
Right? Whenever you notice you get in a state of anger, jealousy, envy, you notice your breath shortens up.
Yeah. You know? And you got to take that moment to take that deep breath.
So what they tell you, breathe, calm down, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What they call the breath of God.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Numa. Yeah.
So learning how to really tap into that. So food can change your breathing. You know what I'm saying? You ever heard somebody that was, you know, I don't like to say unhealthy, but who
mismanaged their.
I got like that mismanaged, right?
Right.
They may breathe a little bit more heavier.
Right.
You can hear it.
You can hear it on the phone when you're talking to them. You can hear it when you're sitting next to them. It's a struggle. Yeah.
Right. So helping that person get their breath back in order. Like a lot of times, one of the things I learned is like when you pick up weight in the body thinks it's experiencing a famine from the inside.
Wait a minute. Yeah. So the body, because
think about it, body itself heals itself, right?
Yeah.
So like I was telling you before about the adrenal body type, they had weight here, but then all of a sudden the weight is gone here, and it shifts to the middle. Why is it shifting to the middle? You know,
because all your organs are there.
Come on.
Everything that's important that the body needs to protect.
Come on now.
Is there. So if you just decide I'm gonna stop eating, the body gonna be like, oh, he wildin'. We got
reserves.
Right.
We got reserves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So really,
yeah.
I just say a person who's bigger just got extra reserves. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the body's really tapping into protecting itself through the reserve system because they're nutrient deficient.
Right.
So the famine is the nutrient deficiencies.
Yeah.
So being able to balance out those deficiencies.
Right. So your body be like, I don't know what you got going on out there, but we got a job to do in here, and we're going to do whatever it takes.
Yeah. But, you know, I don't really help out with weight loss and stuff like that too much no more. I just kind of know it and, you know.
And you try to share whenever you can.
Whenever somebody asks the right question, I want to share it. Other than that, you know, that's you on your journey. You know, like I was listening to this book, like I'm really big, like the whole life coaching, mindset, you know what I'm saying, spiritual stuff, law of attraction, like I'm really big into a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And there's this book, old book from like 1930s. Those are some of the best. You get jewels from those books. And there's this book called The Science of Being Great.
Yeah.
And one of the things the guy said, if your next door neighbor smokes cigarette, that's none of your business. None of your business that they smoke cigarettes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we share the same air. Okay, fine. You know, we all sharing the same air right now. Then he goes on to say, but if your next door neighbor knocks on your door and asks you for assistance to smoke cigarettes, you can make a decision to make it your business at that time. So I don't just go proactively up to people like, yo, this is what you need. Ooh.
Yo, that's that's driving me to another place. Like for me, I'm somebody that goes back and forth with that, right? You know, one day I'll be on it, super health nut. Then the next day something happens and I'm like, I'm back to the synthetic piece.
All right.
Right. So for somebody that's struggling with that, the back and forth of the synthetic piece, what would you say, man, to them?
Forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Stop being so hard on yourself. You know, like I said, a herbalist changed my life, man. We don't really use, like, we just did the show. I don't use the N-word a lot no more. But I'm going to say it today because people like, yo, sometimes you got to do nigga shit.
Right.
He said, because it creates balance.
Yeah.
You can't live your life, you know what I'm saying, like this whole positive, the whole time. Sometimes you got to, and so that piece of healthy versus synthetic creates, you know what I'm saying, some kind of balance for you. It's when you tip the scales.
Yeah, when you go crazy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Isn't that what they say sin is?
That's what they say.
Anything in excess?
Anything in excess, right?
Yeah.
It's never good. You got people that's big on fitness, man, and just working out. When it comes to like your muscle, like for example, I had a leg day,
Right.
and my legs was hurting like the next day, then the day after that, right? And I'm like, okay, well, I'm good now.
Right.
Then my wife was like, oh man, it's still going crazy. I don't want to go, like, cause my legs, I don't know, something's going on.
So she's still hurting.
So she's still hurting.
So the first question I'm asking her is, how is your sleep?
She's not sleeping well.
Come on now. See how? Bang.
She's not sleeping well.
Right. So anybody because to go on what knowledge was given to me, right? And I'm saying that for a reason, because knowledge is infinite. There's numerous of different possibilities. So you gotta find out what works for you.
Right.
Right. So one of the principles I learned was, for those who are not sleeping, you lose weight when you sleep 24 to 48 hours after the regimen, because the body heals itself when you sleep. If you're not sleeping, you're not healing. So why would I make you lift weights and do these crazy workouts
And then
and you're not sleeping? So now this person not getting the results that they wanted.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, when you learn about the body types, is you realize that some bodies, because the weight distribution has to even itself back out, so they lose inches before they lose weight.
Yeah.
As a healing process. Well, other bodies lose weight first, then inches second. So you gotta understand.
You gotta understand what kind of body type you got going on.
Mm-hmm. And what's your eating patterns, what's your sleeping patterns, what they call the 6 best doctors. Are you getting enough sunlight? Are you getting enough water? Right?
Oh, the water and the sunlight, yeah.
Yeah, so those are important. Your breathing is important. You know what I mean? So having those things, what does that balance look like? So some people just go for it from a exercise perspective, exercise only. And some people do exercise and diet. And then I'll be like, well, the diet is what you got you here. And the lack of sleep and the lack of sunlight and the lack of water.
Right.
So maybe let's focus on the diet, let's focus on getting you some sun, let's focus on some breathing. Then now when you go to the gym, you have more stamina.
Right.
And so we can grow from cardio calisthenics to your circuit training.
Right, and then we can build a consistency because you're doing the right things.
Yeah, but I'm nobody's personal trainer. I don't, I'm out of that game.
Hey man, we gonna have to start charging, man, for all these crown jewels you dropping.
You know what I'm saying? I just said I don't mind, sharing information, man, because I learned it along the way. It's just that's not the angle I'm into, But that may let me segue into, I may not be getting back into life coaching full time, but I may get back into it to a degree. And I'm going to create a nonprofit program called Navigate.
Okay.
And thinking of different taglines, navigate to greatness, or let your spirit be your guide. I don't know the tagline just yet, but I'm working on different things. But really, I want to get into the basics of, health principles, financial literacy principles, relationship principles, and personal development, business principles, so they can see how these things actually correlate with each other, how they work in the flow with each other. So what you learn in life coaching is like, I may have a client and we're going through weight loss, and I see the emotional issue. Well, if you ever throw a rock in the pond and you skip it,
it creates some ripples.
Come on.
Yeah.
So if there's a ripple effect here, then that ripple in behavior is going to show up in your finances. That ripple in behavior is going to show up in your relationships. The ripple in behavior shows up in your personal development or your business transactions. That makes sense?
That makes sense.
So what I want to do is put together some logical curriculums and bring in some experts, some different backgrounds, you know what I'm saying, and bring in a digital piece, and then have some great minds come together, and we create these dynamic programs for people to be able to tap into online and be able to, communicate with a group to actually say, hey, you know what? I want to navigate to greatness. I want to make it to that next level because I know it's in me, right? Everybody's born with it, and I want my piece of the pie, what I'm born with. I want to help them eat it. You know what I'm saying? And I want to make it affordable. You know what I'm saying? Because there's principles, especially finance. Finance is really big for me. And what really made me want to get back into the game is I did this speech at a man's conference for this church lately.
Yeah.
And the title of the speech was Making Decisions in Desperation. And I realized that because I had this pain trigger, a lot of decisions I was making were in desperation. I was desperate for love. There was a pattern there. I was desperate for money. There was a pattern there. I was desperate for, acceptance and validation. There was a pattern there. So then what do you start doing? You hear the old cliches. Start robbing Peter, pay Paul. Yeah. You start saying, hey, I want to move like the rabbit. I want to get it fast. So you go off with strong spurts, then you stop. Strong spurts and stop. The whole time, what you should have did was got some knowledge and move slow and steady, like the turtle. So, one of the lines said, maybe the turtle knew God. Come on now. Straight up.
Yeah.
Because turtle kept faith.
Right.
Slow and steady. So, just going back to my son, was having a conversation. He in his early 20s. He's 20, be 21 next year in February. We was talking about him investing into different accounts, and there's ways you can invest in accounts, and over 10 years, you can set yourself up 500,000, 700,000 just by putting it away.
Right.
Or I got this program called Flip Coin for financial principles. I just want to teach the basics. I tell everybody, I'm not a millionaire by any means necessary. So this is my plug for those people out there. Once we release Navigate, Flip Coin will be a curriculum within it.
So is this connected to the trend of Bitcoin, or not the trend, but it's a thing that's going on with this?
Well, Flip Coin is more I did a play on words, right? And
I see what you did there. I did.
Right? And then and I was thinking about playing games. You got to flip the coin, right? Which side of the coin you gonna be on? The successful side or unsuccessful side? When you gonna get started? And in any game, you got offense and defense, and then you got players on the field. So in the financial world, you have your employees, W-2.
Right.
Your business people who deal with 1099s.
Right.
And you got your nonprofits. Well, however you're moving through the financial world, you're going to be taxed a certain way, or you're not going to receive a tax. So with W-2 people, they may only get a handful of credits and deductions that's automatically given to you depending on your status.
Right.
So I was teaching him, let's say you had a $1,000 son from a W-2 employee, they're going to tax that up front. You know what I mean? Let's say average of 30%, so you're taking home $700, right?
Right.
So all right, cool. Let's say you got a business and you expense out $700. You only took home $300, but you were taxed for $300. That's the difference. Both people got the same amount of income come in. They got the same material things in their home. You know what I mean? But one's leveraging the business. The business, there's a book that's called out there. This is a plug. Pick it up if you want. Called 475 Tax Write-Offs. Right?
Yeah.
So when you get a business, you set yourself up for that. And there's levels to business. There's LLCs, S Corps, C Corps. Then you start getting into trust, all those different things. And then there's nonprofit. Well, the key to nonprofit is what? There's no nonprofit that's not out there making money in some fashion. Either they charge subscription fees, membership fees, or taking donations, right?
Right.
But the whole thing is to be at zero at the end of the year. Balance the books.
Balance the books.
Now check this out. It said God keeps account.
Right.
Right? Taxes is what? Accounting.
Mm-hmm.
And your money follows your emotions.
Right.
Does that make sense?
That's scripture.
So if my money is following my emotions, then how am I taking account, or how am I doing the accounting for the books? Does that make sense?
100%.
So those are the three positions, and we talk about accounting principles for those three. Then we get into the three offensive plays: spending habits, budgets, telling your money what to do, debt elimination. Third is building credit, personal business. Then we get into three defensive plays. First defensive play is leveraging assets over trust. Can I get my assets to fund my life? A lot of us were taught differently, growing up, based on our spending habits. You can see it. So you got those people penny pinch, where they don't have enough money, at the end of the month because they're always catching the sales.
Yeah.
Right? Then you have your middle class people, and it looks good, but on paper, they're full of liabilities. They're making payments on a house, they're making payments on a car, and none of it's bringing money
in
back to them. But then you got the assets, and you got different forms: cash, real estate, stocks, intellectual property, art, right? But that stuff gains appreciation and it gives you a return on your investment. If I get enough assets to be able to fund my life, now I'm in a different position.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So how can I get there? So then after that, we know the difference between assets and liabilities for defense, right? Most people are like, that's offense. No, that's defense, my friend. Because anybody can generate income. How do I protect this income? Next, we get into protection. What kind of account is my money being stored in? Is it being stored in a business account which is getting little to no interest? Is it being stored into a trust account, which if I connect this trust to a estate or a will, now I can determine where my assets are going to be going, and depending on the trust structure, I can protect my assets in the case in which I was sued or the business was sued, the assets are protected, right? And then there's insurance and leveraging the insurance game, And I'm not an insurance guru, but in studying financial principles, you learn about this thing called private family banking, where some families use insurance as their bank. And you hear people say they purchase these insurance policies and they draw from it. But what these families are doing is a family or group got this insurance policy. Let's say my son draws funds of it, he starts his business. He has to pay the insurance back. Yeah, but any loan you take out, you got to pay it back, right or wrong. Who? Yourself, right? Because to me, credit is a man living in honor, keeping my word. That's what credit is to me.
That's what it is. That's exactly what it is.
So now, if we have enough people do this, now I can set my kids up instead of having to go to the bank and potentially get rejected. I set my family up 5-10 years from now. Told my son, like, okay, Dad, I'm 25, 26. I know what kind of business I want to do. All right, son, we got an account for you to be able to pull from. You know what I mean? Here's the terms and conditions. Pay ourselves back. Once again, that puts me in a position to be able to protect my money.
Right.
And then finally, the tax side of it, how to balance the books. I would say this. This is no legal advice. I'm no financial expert.
Right, go ahead, man.
But I have studied a little law. So 2 things, you recognize you study law. All crimes are commercial. So then you start saying to yourself, why? Why do they have to attach a money to it, right? Then you start realizing that, well, if there's money attached to it, there's a bond attached to it, it means money was created somewhere along the line.
Right.
That makes sense? Then you start realizing, well, I got to balance the books. How do I balance the books? I would encourage anybody to look at the definition of person, and then take out 1099 miscellaneous, and then read it. It says, and I'm going to paraphrase, 'cause I don't have it in front of my face, but it tells you that anybody you pay $600 or more to, any person that you pay $600 or more to will be considered independent contractor. You need to send them a 1099 form, right?
Right.
You would think of it based on the education system that we learned that person meant people. But the definition of person in law books is corporations.
Ooh.
So now that 1099 form takes on a whole different meaning. Anybody that wants to take that, this is not financial advice. Talk to your CPAs, your accountants.
This is not financial advice.
You know what I mean?
This is not an expert saying it right here.
But you start saying to yourself, well, hold on. There's this one thing that talks about rent. Well, I pay rent. I pay a mortgage. I pay over $600 a month. I didn't 1099 them. Well, then you start looking at the accounting ledger, and it's called income tax. So somebody's receiving income. And if I'm not doing my job to report who I pay income to,
well,
then I'm holding the tax when I should have been saying, hey, no, I paid D. I don't got the money no more.
This is the value of having a business. this is the value that you really get. Because when you're an employee and you're paying taxes,
those options are slim.
those options are incredibly slim, bro.
But when
Thank
you
for
got a
this.
business, you know, I can send out the certain forms. You know, once again, I'm not gonna get into all that, but I can send out the forms to the people I did business with, and I'm gonna tell IRS I paid them. I don't have it no more. They have it.
Come on.
So I don't hold the tax. They do.
We're not gonna go too deep into that right now. We're not gonna do that. That's really good. One more thing we're gonna build on real quick. One of my favorite books, man, David Data.
Okay.
Um,
The Way of the Superior Man.
let's just build on that just for a second, man. So you know about this book, then?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I got an extensive library, man. Like my library is bananas.
David Data in that book, I read it, man, maybe the beginning of the last year.
Yeah.
Just changed my whole outlook on just relationship building, period.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Would you recommend anything else close to that? Or like, matter of fact, let's just talk about that. He talks about energy, and he talks about just masculine energy.
That's right.
And just purpose in men. Have you how long? It's like 20 years old. Like, when did you first read that book?
Maybe about 10, 15 years ago. Like I said, when I met the herbalist, changed my life, man.
So that's when you read that book?
Yeah. Being involved with him, man, like he was able to read my body without touching me. It blew my mind. He could tell me what was wrong. And I was like, I wanted to learn that. I wanted to learn how you did that. So he's like, the only way you learn how to do that, you gotta solve this riddle. So he gave me this riddle, I solved it. And from there, he started pouring knowledge into me. And the first book he actually gave me was the Bible. So read it.
Wow.
And then from there, we started building off other science books. And he'd be like, you know, they taught you that this was separate and it's one and the same. So, since I'm bringing up the Bible for a reason, what does it say a man should do? A man should love his wife like Christ Jesus loved the church, right?
Right.
Right? What does the wife do? Says she should honor and respect her husband. Let's look at these words. Love is a feminine expression. She's naturally born with that, right?
Yeah.
So that means that he needs to be resting in his masculine energy and learn how to balance himself through feminine energy enough to be able to love this person to take care of somebody outside of him. And then for her, she's feminine, so she already born with love.
She already where she need to be.
She gotta learn how to honor and respect, and that's a masculine thing, to balance herself out.
Right.
Because men naturally give honor and respect until you disrespect them.
Mm-hmm.
Women walk around differently, you know. They already feel disrespected as soon as they walk out of the house. So what David teaches in that book is for a man, or some people say alpha male, right?
Yeah.
Needs to always rest in his masculine energy. You never give up that position because it's just yours. Because what happens when you give up that position, you put yourself in a beta state, and now she has to put herself in the alpha state in order to balance it out. Well, is she supposed to be resting in alpha? No. So now she has to take on extra stress that she wasn't designed for. So now I'm putting her through this stress, and she may even be good at it because some women are born with masculine tendencies. When we talk about left brain, right brain, she may even be good at it, but that's not supposed to be the place to rest for her. Now we go to masculine, feminine again, right? That's the conscious and the subconscious. Conscious being, you know, the thoughts from your brain, I'm actively aware. Subconscious being the gut, which is why the food's important, all right? Tying it back together for you. So the subconscious is where all the power lies, but that's feminine, right? So the conscious does what? It gives order, you know?
Yeah.
So a man should do what? Give order, brings order to chaos. What is feminine? Feminine is an expression of the circle, the entire gamut. But the entire gamut can create chaos if it doesn't have order to it. Doesn't mean it's not necessary. You need the house, you need the decorations in the house, but we have to have a budget to create order to say get the house first and the decoration second.
Come on.
Does that make sense?
A whole lot of sense, man.
So when I read that book, that's a lot of the things I was taking away from it. Making sure that you understand who you are, you know what I'm saying? Understanding things that you're good at, understand your weaknesses, so those are the areas that you can continue to get coaching and counseling, and consult with, you know what I'm saying, which is what she's for, and be able to create that balanced energy in the home. You know what I mean?
That's a fact, man.
So, one last thing in leaving, man, Dirty V, right? I'm a spiritual person, studied different types of religions, right? But, I grew up in a church. And I told you guys I was really like in tune with the law of attraction and things. But what really helped set my business apart and the foundation of it, in any interview I always let people know my entire business is based in Matthew chapter 6. And it teaches you how to pray, teaches you how to give in silence, right? And what we see a lot of times, us recording ourselves and putting it online. If I'm gonna give from the heart. I'm not gonna record it. I'm not gonna post it. I'm not gonna say I help X, Y, Z out. I will let them tell you. I'm not gonna tell you. Teaches you how not to worry. You know what I'm saying? But more importantly, everybody's favorite is 6:33. Seek ye the kingdom. And some people say heaven, righteousness, right? And all things should be added. So to me, to find and close on that masculine and feminine principle, seek ye. So seeking, the act of doing, that's the doing part. Whatever you do, you have to actually do it. That is you living in your purpose, your dreams, whatever goal that you have. That's the masculine part. That's the actually doing. And the more that you do it, all things should be added. The people that you need, the advice that you need, the extra financing that you need, those things would appear like they're magically just popped up. And they would show up. So anybody asks me, how did you do this so fast? Matthew 6 is how I did it. You know what I mean? And it really changed everything for me. So now I focus on what I'm supposed to do. I do that. And then I recognize when the help comes. And I allow myself to be helped in the areas I need to be helped in, because sometimes what helps us cross the bridge of success is receiving help versus doing it yourself. Because when you do everything yourself, that's a technician mindset. One other last thing. So this is a lady online, I forget her name, but she does the eating videos and she eats the crab legs. So she said she started off cooking and she started eating. She became a millionaire on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things she talked about when her principles of becoming successful, she tells everybody the patterns. She says, I teamed up with people who were doing the same thing I was doing, and we collaborated. And this allowed me to get into front of other audiences, but also allowed me to learn from other people as well. So people sometimes look at my page on social media and be like, yo, you share XYZ posts, they do vegan food. They do, and I did. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because that's their lane. They have certain flavor mixture that's gonna agree with somebody else's palate. Me, I got my own lane that's gonna agree with somebody else's palate. So what's for me, I'm going to attract that. And so why can't I celebrate somebody else? You know what I mean? That's part of the reason why I wanted to show up here. I saw your videos online. I was like, yo, I've been speaking a lot. A lot of people invite me to speak, whether it be motivational speeches or just come do interviews since I started a business. I want to sit down, and if there's anything I could do just by getting in front of him and doing the interview, this allows me to grow my brand, also allows him to grow his brand. So today, you didn't reject it, you accepted it.
Right, that's
you know what I mean?
That's a fact. I wanted to ask you this too, just in light of this. I know you and I, connected about Miles Monroe one time.
I love Miles Monroe,
man. Yeah, man. Just talk about the, 'cause I know you grew up in the church, and me too, but there was a time where I shifted and transitioned. I started looking and investigating and really questioning my whole foundation, was there a shift for you at one point, and then you ended up coming back to it once you met the herbalist, or what was that like for you?
So, my story, to kind of give you a story. So yes, I grew up in the church. My grandmother off Blue Johnson Road went to St. James Baptist Church. Later on, as an adult, mid-teen, early 20s, I started going to one of my cousin's churches, right?
Yeah.
At the time, it's called New Life World Ministries, and my mom was going to the church, and this time this prophet came. This is the first thing, him and the herbalist, they kind of connected, don't even realize it.
Right.
So you hear a little about church prophets, right?
Yeah, how that go.
So you're like, I don't know about this, man, right? So I'm running late to church, and the church is packed.
Yeah.
And the only free seat is my mom's seat up front.
Right.
Right? And so I'm sitting beside her up front, me and my son, and he's giving a dynamic sermon, sweating. He getting it in.
Getting it in.
But he stopped in the middle of the sermon. It's like, I can't preach no more. It's like everybody looking around like, and then he start talking to me. And he was like, yo, you have a gift on your life, and you have the ability to be able to talk to any age group. And most people talk from what they read or what they saw, but you speak from experiences. And you've experienced a lot at an early age, and it allows you to be able to connect with a lot of different people, so much so you can break it down to where a child can understand it. And he was like, you know, maybe you're gonna be a pastor. I was like, whatever, man, that ain't me. He's like, nah, maybe you're gonna be a bishop. I said, no, that ain't it. Maybe
this is in the middle of the sermon?
Middle of the sermon. Stopped it. Told people, if you want to go home and not listen to this, you can go home, but I got to get this out. And he was like, maybe you're going to be an apostle. It's like, no, there's no position for you. It's like, maybe you'll be like Jesus and just walk amongst the people and sharing your gifts and talents with the world. He said, but here's what I do know. Thousands of people are going to come hear you speak. And this theme, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, right? I had this other experience. I was at the hospital. This guy out of the blue was judging us because we was young and we looked hip hop, and he was talking to me. And then he said the same thing. And then later on, my younger brother was like, I had a dream. Thousands of people come to hear you speak. But then I met the herbalist, and I don't share this story with most people, but he was like, I never seen nobody love the way you do. Like, you genuinely love people, like genuinely. I see you interact with any and everybody that come in here, and I hadn't seen that. As a matter of fact, last time I read about it was like thinking about Jesus. I'm like, oh my God, what does this do? Like the whole connection.
Right.
And at this time, man, I was studying like African spiritualities, and you know, I studied Islam.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Judaism. But the one thing that set me free was the universal laws, the Hermetic principles.
Yeah.
In those 7 laws, I began to see the principles in each spiritual text.
Right.
Going back to those laws.
Bhagavad Gita. I did that happened to me too.
So once I saw that, the anger went away. So maybe they didn't lie to me growing up. Maybe they gave it into a language in which I could understand and receive it to apply these principles.
Right.
And maybe each spiritual text to some degree could be a language to help people understand these universal principles and how to apply them to their life. Right. And that's what allowed me to be able to circle back, be able to pick the Bible back up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Things of that type of nature.
Yeah. When did that happen for you? Like how so early or soon? Like when did you end up being able to pick the Bible back up?
In my early 30s.
Gotcha.
But I saw it with a different eye. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I wanted to help myself out in life.
Yeah.
And I was on this journey to find these 7 principles. It's like, it ain't there. Oh no, it's there. You know?
Yeah.
You know, it ain't there. Oh no, it's there. And I started seeing it. And then life for me started becoming clear. It's like, you know, instead of me focusing on, because I tell anybody who goes down the path of knowledge, you know, I know it says my people perish because of lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
But at some point, it's 2 things I say. A man will cripple himself if he never learns how to apply the knowledge he learns.
Tough.
And at some point, the knowledge is infinite, past or future. When are you gonna get out of the past or get out of the future and do it right now and face the man in the mirror? And I was ready to do it right now. I can use all these spiritual principles and not apply none of it. Or I can start applying it and start changing my living conditions as a man and my relationships. I can start applying it, changing my living conditions when it comes to how I dealt with money. You know what I mean? To be able to change those habits. So I got more focus on the how to. And for me, when we talk about like the age of Aquarius and all that other stuff, and age of knowledge, I'd be like, yo, we can look at all the knowledge all we want. We do a great job of focusing on who, we do a great job of focusing on what, we do a great job of focusing on how. Not how, but I mean why, but we don't focus on how. And that's what's missing. That's what's missing in the spaces for safe spaces for men, be able to come and talk.
Yeah.
So like, brother, show me how. and not feel like I'm taking away from you because I'm applying it. Right. Because any person that's successful will tell you, there's these principles I have, follow these principles. Don't follow me, follow these principles, and you will reach the level of success. So anybody who really wants to help you out will give you the playbook.
They'll give you the playbook.
They're going to give it to you.
Yep.
The person who really doesn't want to help you out is still dealing with the element of fear. Right?
Right.
So I want to be around loving people because I know love is the opposite of fear. So who's willing to give me the playbook? You know, who's a mentor? Who's a older guy? You know,
that's gonna help me.
That's right. Or if I'm in a relationship, am I smart enough to know this is the time I need to be listening to my lady? You know what I mean? Because she's dropping wisdom. She's being used as a vessel to drop wisdom to me, and then learning how to apply that wisdom. So that's what I'm really focused on right now in my life is application.
Application, all through wisdom, man. Wisdom, man. D. Rich, that's a lot, man. I'm trying to process with all this whole time, man. But somebody did that for me recently. Somebody, I sat down with them. They was like, "Yo, you need to do this. You need to do this. You need to do that. You need to find out what people need. You need to make sure that you get it to them faster than anybody else." And then you can somehow convince them that they need it from you.
That's right.
Right. And I'm like, he's like that. And if you can apply those 3 principles, you can be successful at any business that you want to start. Right. And I would just combine that with what is it that I love to do? What is it that I really want to do? That if I wasn't getting paid for it, what would I be doing? And in some form of fashion is communicating and engaging people and being able to be fed and being able to pour back into people at the same time. That environment of love is what I want to.
That's it.
That's what I love. I love that. You know what I'm saying? And even going through that same journey, like every principle or spiritual, knowledge base that I studied, I kept seeing Christ in it somewhere, right? You know what I'm saying? And that's what led me back to where I am now with this whole brand, with Thinking Kingdom and the Kingdom Media. Then Miles Monroe packaged it for me, right? In a way that I could understand it,
right,
and respect it, and then start applying it. You know what I'm saying? And that was it for me, man.
And that's what it's all about, man. Find that person who really triggers it. Because, like I said, you got Miles. Les is my number one. It's my favorite. Right now, that's out there. One of the big names is E.T., right?
Yeah,
Thomas,
yeah.
I can go back. I like watching Earl Nightingale and Bob Proctor,
Right.
One of my favorites, like I quoted him earlier, Wallace Wattles. A lot of people don't even remember him. You know what I mean? Or another one for those who really like into the spiritual side of it, going into the application side of it, and understand the connection between the two. Neville Goddard. Yes, he's.
I don't know that. I don't know that one. I gotta get on that.
Yeah, man. He has this thing called "Feeling Is a Secret." This is typically the first book I tell anybody if you're gonna pick up. And he just talks about a relationship between the subconscious and the conscious, but he puts it into biblical form. Or there's another one called the 11 Forgotten Laws. Like people only think the law of attraction, but it's 11 laws that go with it. Some of the laws are like law of sacrifice, law of obedience. You know what I mean? So understand those. But once again, it's how do I transition into how, right?
How, yeah.
And sometimes we got to get out of our own way. So that emotion that's blocking us, sometimes we're able to get out of our own way on our own because we triggered.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you need a friend or you need somebody who's willing to give you the playbook and hold your hand while you're going through it until you're ready to take the training wheels off.
That's a fact. Anything else you want to add, D. Rich?
Man, no, I think that's it, man. We covered a lot, man. I ain't even expect us to cover
so much, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just adding value. Listen, anybody that's watching this that wants to connect with you, man, or link up with you, what you want them to do, man? Tell them what you want. Tell them what you want, man.
I mean, so on Facebook right now and on Instagram, I'm really focused on Dirty V. You know what I mean? So you can check out Facebook, Cheat with Dirty V, right? And then on Instagram is Cheat with _ Dirty V. On Instagram, you can find me there. You hit me up there. Like I said, man, I'm starting to get back into the life coaching realm. I'm looking at turning it into a nonprofit called Navigate. So if I don't take on a lot of clients because of time right now, but if there's somebody that's serious and be like, yo, even if it's just somebody to bounce an idea of. You know, you can inbox me directly on any social media platform and say, hey man, I got a question, you know, and depending on how many questions, then that's when I start saying, hey, why don't we set up coaching sessions? But life is the best teacher. You know, I tell people all the time, I'm nobody's coach. I'm just a guide or a motivator along the way saying, hey, you know what? If we were in a room full of darkness and there was no light, and I told you I saw the light, would you let me guide you to it? Because there's light in all of us. And that's all I want to do is help people find their light.
Man. D-Rich.
Yeah.
Salute, King.
Salute, man.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate it too.
Say I told you. Stay King. Cause I ain't tell ya. Go ahead and focus and meditate on this greatness. If you don't hear the glory, you probably still stuck in the matrix. He said this is for me. Living revelation on your playlist. Since everybody A-listed, we probably need to pray this. The kingdom is coming. Better yet, the kingdom is here and we the proof of purchase. And I'm not a part of no circus, we two different churches. Who you manifesting the earth with? Undermining our purposes for the blessings and the cursing. You know this is working.